Buckle up, folks, because D&D Honor Among Thieves, well, it's a movie. So let's start off with the first 10 minutes of this movie, which gives us the backstory of where we need to be in order to understand this. Long story short, Unlucky Man's wife died because he was a crusader against evil, basically. So he fell down a rut till he found Barbarian Lady, and together they formed a band of thieves with Unlucky Man's daughter, con artist, and bad spellcaster. They were hired by a witch to steal certain artifacts, which betrays them, and so Unlucky Man and Barbarian Lady were captured. Now it's 2 years later, and they have finally escaped, or let out, depending on who you ask, and have reunited with Unlucky Man's daughter and Con Man. Can you guess the twist that's going to happen here? You see, Con Man was actually in on the con. He's in league with the witch. Oh my gosh. And he's been feeding Unlucky Man's daughter lies throughout this entire time. So now Unlucky Man and Barbarian Lady have to rescue the daughter. And also steal vast hoards of treasure. For what reason? Because they're thieves. Why wouldn't they? That is the gist of the movie, and it takes 10 whole minutes in probably one of the most annoying exposition sequences I have seen in a while. And there is a lot of exposition in this movie. You have to have exposition about how everybody got here. You have to have exposition about the big bad that appears at the end of the movie, but not really, because it's the witch. Who would have guessed? So on their journey to rescue Unlucky Man's daughter, they find bad spellcaster and shape changer. She's a tiefling druid fighting for her people, and thus we have our movie. And in this, you have pretty much your classic D&D style adventure. You have an objective, then you have to figure out a way to get to said objective, and it's basically a race from one point to another, to another, to another. It runs very much like a game, which makes sense. It's based off of Dungeons and Dragons. Only in this, you don't have the infinite multitude of you can do whatever the heck you want. That guy, you can kill him right now. Who cares? Consequences don't matter in a game, right? A lot of the jokes in this movie don't land. The plot seems to just push them along. If you're not familiar with D&D, some of the stuff they're talking about can and will go over your head. Out of our 4 party members, you don't really get invested in any of them except Unlucky Man, but he has his own issues. And then, speaking of, when the witch finally reveals herself to be the big bad at the end of all this, minor spoiler alert, the boss is thwarted, guys, if you didn't know. But in, like, the stupidest way possible. So throughout this entire movie, the witch has been propped up as one of the strongest magic users in all the world, and is very cunning, usually a step or two ahead of our heroes. And at the end, she is thwarted because of a stupid mistake she makes. Again, minor spoiler warning for the ending of this. She forgets to lock the door. It's not some trick or anything. She just forgets to lock the door. Like, what? Throughout this entire movie, you've been shown to be like this ruthless, super powerful spellcaster, and yet just completely slips your mind. So half of this movie is boring as they explain the plot to you. A quarter of the movie is interesting action scenes, and the last quarter of the movie is character moments that you don't get quite enough of to get really invested in these characters. At the end of the day, don't go see this movie.